Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the fascinating history and the psychology behind the absolute most iconic sound in world football. If you've ever tuned in to a Liverpool Football Club match, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've undeniably felt that sheer wall of sound greeting the players as they walk onto the pitch. But today, we're looking way beyond just the sport itself. We're going to dive in and explore the semantic, historical, and cultural anatomy of You'll Never Walk Alone.
I mean, it's a completely bizarre contrast, right? On one hand, you've got this delicate, emotional, theatrical ballad, and on the other, you have the roaring, deeply passionate terraces of Anfield Stadium, capable of literally paralyzing visiting teams. So how exactly does a tune written for a polite theatre crowd transform into a global sporting phenomenon?
The journey this song took is just wild. It starts out in 1945 as a gentle song of consolation in the Broadway musical Carousel. Yet, fast forward to 1963, and it has somehow crossed over from the stage to become a gritty, unifying chant for thousands of working-class English football fans.
Here is our roadmap for The Explainer today. First, from Broadway to Anfield, then the Shankly Revolution. After that, we'll look at the Celtic versus Liverpool debate, deconstruct the lyrics, and finally, wrap up with the song's enduring global impact.
All right, part one, from Broadway to Anfield, the unlikely journey. Let's look at how this spread to Merseyside.
So the song is born in the US in '45, but the real turning point? That's 1963. A local Merseybeat band called Gerry and the Pacemakers recorded a cover that actually beat out the Beatles for the UK #1 spot. Back in the 60s, the Anfield PA announcer would play the top 10 chart hits right before matches, and when this local track played, it organically struck a massive chord with fans who were dealing with some pretty tough economic hardships. It was so popular that when it dropped out of the top 10 and wasn't played, the crowd actually cried out for it. By 1965, Liverpool's legendary manager, Bill Shankly, even picked it as one of his all-time favorite tracks on the radio show Desert Island Discs.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Shankly Revolution, building a collective.
You see, the crucial turning point here was how perfectly this song aligned with Shankly's vision. He operated on a very specific core principle. The strength of the group is better than the individual. He wasn't just relying on deep pockets or clever tactics, he was actively building a team on a bedrock of a socialist team-first philosophy. He believed in absolute perseverance, creating a group that never ever gave up on each other. You'll Never Walk Alone essentially became the ultimate musical embodiment of that mindset. It was a promise to his players that they'd succeed together as long as they kept faith in one another.
Moving on to Section 3, the Celtic versus Liverpool debate, a historical rivalry.
Now, no explainer of this anthem would be complete without addressing the elephant in the room, who actually sang it on the terraces first. Both Liverpool and the Scottish club Celtic claim it as their own original tradition. However, historians often point to a core skepticism regarding the Celtic claim. As the quote goes, "Can you really see thousands of working-class Glaswegians in the 50s or early 60s spontaneously joining in a sing-along from a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical?" It raises a really valid point about cultural adoption before the era of widespread pop covers.
When you look at it objectively, historical timelines heavily favor Liverpool as the original adopters. While the Celtic claim lacks concrete pre-1963 evidence, the Liverpool timeline is pretty undeniable. That November 1963 Gerry and the Pacemakers cover triggered almost immediate sing-alongs on the Kop. That's the famous standing section at Anfield. In fact, there is documented BBC panorama footage from 1964 clearly showing Liverpool fans swaying and singing it. The local Merseybeat explosion was undoubtedly the catalyst here.
Let's shift gears a bit. Section 4, deconstructing the lyrics, a semantic breakdown. Before we literally analyze the words, let's establish what we're actually looking at. An anthem is defined as a rousing or uplifting song identified with a particular group, body, or cause. When tens of thousands of fans sing this together, it's no longer just a song. It becomes a profound ritual. It's the heartbeat of a community. It acts as an initiation for the new fans and a deep comfort for the lifelong ones.
This is where it gets really fascinating. There's some incredible research from the UI Scholars Hub that explains exactly why these lyrics trigger such deep psychological responses. When you break down the semantics, you see how heavily the song relies on associative meanings and figurative language. It doesn't just state plain facts, it uses language strategically designed to vividly evoke emotion and shared human experience.
So for instance, look at words like storm.
They aren't literally about atmospheric disturbances, obviously. They act as connotative metaphors for brutal life obstacles, uncertainty, those really dark periods we all face. The golden sky isn't a meteorological event. It represents the promise of a better future and the pure joy of renewal. And a phrase like tossed and blown, it perfectly captures that devastating, helpless feeling of having your dreams completely derailed by circumstances beyond your control.
And then there's the phrase sweet silver song. Academic analysis reveals a reflected meaning here. It symbolizes a pleasing moment of renewal when your struggles completely end. The semantics of this entire piece, honestly, they offer a warm hug in musical form. It's actively urging the listener to face their absolute deepest fears without ever giving up, reinforcing the idea that success requires pushing straight through adversity.
Finally, Section 5, the enduring global impact, tragedy and triumph. How do these powerful semantics translate into the real world? Well, they show up on both the darkest and brightest days imaginable. In 1989, the totally devastating Hillsborough disaster claimed the lives of 97 fans. In the agonizing aftermath, this song became a beacon of collective mourning, sung at memorials to comfort grieving families. Then, completely flipped the script to 2005, the miracle of Istanbul. Down 3-0 at halftime in the Champions League final, fans sang this anthem to a broken, defeated team, sparking literally one of the greatest comebacks in sports history. And more recently, during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, the song was adopted by frontline NHS workers across the UK as a source of strength.
Former Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp really hit the nail on the head regarding the song's magic during the pandemic. He said, "I was sent a video of people in the hospital just outside the intensive care area, and when they started singing You'll Never Walk Alone, I started crying immediately." I mean, that just proves this anthem completely transcends football. It's a universal offering of solace, community, and absolute solidarity to anyone facing adversity.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a question, a thought to ponder. In the face of your own storms, what is your anthem? When your dreams are tossed and blown, where do you find the strength to hold your head up high and walk on? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. I hope this helps you see the profound power behind the music. Keep learning and keep walking on.